Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and we're here to talk about toys. Today, we're doing a modern toys unboxing. That means I've got a stack of toys here. Mostly stuff that's come in real recently. There are a few older items in the stack here that I'm going to open up, kind of play around with, give my thoughts on them, give a quick overview of them. I'll probably put in some B-roll here to show off the toys a little bit more. And, just kind of give my opinion on it. I like doing these kind of videos. It helps me catch up on stuff that I haven't specifically reviewed in an episode. Helps me dig through some of the backlog of stuff that I've collected and then not taken out of the package and enjoyed. So there will be a few things towards the end of the episode that are older toys, but the first bunch of things are pretty modern. I've got some DC toys. I've got some GIJoe stuff. I've got a MOTU figure and a couple of older Power Ranger toys here. So yeah, we're going to start digging in. The first thing we're checking out is Cobra Commander from the Super 7 Reaction Plus line. This is the figure from GIJoe the movie, the Was Once a Man version of Cobra Commander, as he's often referred to. I did not have him when I reviewed other figures from that wave. He was a exclusive to Entertainment Earth and then later was on Super7.com. So he didn't ship with the other Super 7 figures, so he's not in that review. Alright, so we've got the Lizard Man Cobra Commander here. I don't have my regular O-Ring Super 7 figure with me to compare parts to see what is reused, but he's mostly new tooling because he's got scales on his arms, he's got a new torso with the muscles ripped open, even his waist piece exposes some scales below his belt. His one foot is missing a boot, so really at most it's the one leg here that might be recycled. He's got his tongue sticking out in this sculpt. I felt like he probably should have come with a face mask, because this seems most like the scene where he's in the river with Roadblock and the face mask falls off, because before that he has the reptilian chest, but he still has the helmet on completely. So, there's different points in the transformation. He also comes with the little spore that is held in his face to mutate him. This one is actually sculpted closed. So this is not, this is as they bring it up to him, not after it kind of opens up and sprays him. But it is kind of a fun accessory for him to come with. It's not something he can hold really well, because it's just a little rounded object with no handle to it. You might be able to cradle it in his hands somehow, but it's definitely something he's going to drop pretty easily. I'm pretty excited to finally have an O-Ring Snake Cobra Commander in my collection. Next up, we're taking a look at a Superpowers figure from McFarlane. This is the Flash. This is the Jay Garrick Flash, I believe, where he's got the Mercury dish helmet. Kind of the original Flash. My bubble's a little busted up. I got this guy at Target. I really like this line of figures. I don't have anywhere near all of it, but I've got a halfway decent chunk of it. I was excited to find this guy at retail. Alright, he's got a pretty standard chest and arms for one of these superheroes. He does have unique legs as far as I know, because he's got the little Mercury wing tips on his boots. And of course that very character-specific head. I don't know if he's reusing parts from anybody else, but I do like this line. I think they're a lot of fun. It would be cool if they had the action features like the vintage ones, but for the price point, I can't complain. I do enjoy getting the nice variety of superheroes McFarlane's giving us with this line. Next up is the second and final figure from the McFarlane Superpowers line that I picked up for this particular episode here. This is Robin the Boy Wonder. So this, based on the artwork and the logo there, appears to be Dick Grayson, but the back of the package says Jason Todd. It's a very old school uniform. Reminds me a lot of the vintage Robin from the Kenner Superpowers toy line. Although his head sculpt does look a little bit different, and maybe that's the Jason Todd part of it here. Jason did wear the same outfit as Dick Grayson did. Man, his cape is enormous. That is great. I love how big and flowy that clothy cape is. It comes down almost all the way to the ground. It's long enough that it sort of starts to fold around in front of him. That's not something we got too often with the Superpowers line. Their capes were a little bit on the small side. So I really like that. He's got his hand in that karate chop pose like the vintage figure, but obviously there's no feature there to make him actually chop. It's a pretty faithful recreation. all down to the body and everything. But like I said, the head's got a little bit of a different sculpt there, and I guess that's what's distinguishing him. I don't know if this is the same head that was on some of the more modern costumed Robins that they did in this line, because that's a figure that I want a lot out of this line that I missed out on. One of the reasons I picked this one up is because I missed the other Jason Todd style figure. Very cool. Next up, I've got Blowtorrch. This is the GIJoe Flamethrower, one of the newest released figures from Classified series. He's got his red and yellow suit on. He's got all his gear in there. We're going to pop him open and check him out. Charboil has one of the coolest sculpts in the vintage line for a guy who's kind of a C-list character. And they've carried over a lot of that stuff here with his armor with the little round medallions on it. The color scheme obviously is a little bit bright. They have toned it down here some by not making it a bright yellow and red, even though it's still yellow and red. And he comes with a ton of equipment here. A pretty cool figure. He's got a backpack. He's got his helmet. He has a gas mask, which I'm trying to figure out. Oh, I think the gas mask has to go on before the helmet because it has a strap that goes around his head. Similar to the vintage figure there. It's cool that he has the clear goggles built into that. Alright, so I've got the helmet on with the strap. Then the helmet is pretty flexible, so that fits on over top. That works pretty well. He's got a hose coming off of that, which I assume plugs into his chest. Oh, this little meter on his chest has a hole in it, it looks like. He's got his flamethrower accessory, which is pretty big. I like the little handguard piece there. And it's cool that it's got a transparent flame sticking out of the front. It's on like a low spurt, but it also comes with a long flame spewing attachment, which is really neat. This is where Classifieds is doing some really cool stuff. To be able to pose Blowtorrch shooting out the flame, or display him as a, not in direct combat, but with his pilot light lit, is really fun. He's also got a pistol here, so let's see, he's got a holster on his side. Slide that in there. He also has a hose, because of course he does. You gotta feed fuel from the tanks on his back to the flamethrower. See if we can plug this all in. The flamethrower has a little tank on it. Maybe it isn't powered by his backpack. Maybe his breathing apparatus is. I'm struggling with the cord. It keeps falling off, and I don't see a place. Oh, it pegs on the back of the gun. That makes sense. There you go, kind of right by the handle. Let's try plugging this into the backpack again. There is what looks like a clip here, so you could clip his flamethrower to his back if you wanted to. I do like when they build those kind of features in, to kind of give you like a different way of stowing the equipment. And he also has a little flame burst accessory that I don't... Oh, it can go on, so you can have him sort of shooting a fireball out of it, or the really long spurt. So, great accessories there. He's pretty fun. I like the clear visor in his helmet. I don't know if he shares any parts with the recent civilian-style firefighter that they did, the 60th anniversary firefighter. The firefighter's more like barbecue than Blowtorrch, but I could see the backpack possibly being reused, or the mask. The other Classified figure that arrived around the same time as Blowtorrch is Footloose. I'm still waiting for Law and Order. They should be here eventually. Footloose, it was one of the figures that I thought was really cool as a kid. He had that standard military look. I liked the little flare of the leaves on his helmet that kind of made him distinct and unique, like GIJoe's tended to be, but most of his uniform was just straight camo. He had a M16 rifle. He also had the Law missile launcher, but he just felt like a regular troop, and I thought that was cool. How many of you guys that had Footloose as a kid lost the helmet and had to stick the weapon pack one on him that didn't have the paint app on the leaves? The original helmet was green with brown leaves. The weapon pack version was brown. So I went in and hand painted the leaves green on his helmet, on the weapon pack version of the helmet, to make it look better with him. The figure I felt was pretty spot on with Footloose from the render, but the helmet was a little bit of a disappointment. I'm excited to see it in person. They really like trying to modernize these guys for Classified. They wanted to make them distinct, so if they want to do the retro release, they can. So his helmet has little binocular piece put on the top, and it's got the camo netting with the leaves, I guess, but they're not as pronounced. I just don't think his helmet does it for me. It was kind of the put me on edge to consider not ordering him because it just wasn't quite, doesn't scream Footloose enough for me. With this modern helmet, with the leaves not being so prominent. But I like the character enough that I didn't want to pass up on him in case we don't get a retro one at some point. But man, he's a great looking figure. Alright, so he's got a pistol that goes on his hip. He's got some tampos on his shoulders with the American flag and like a unit patch. He's got a pretty big backpack here. I do like that Classifieds has been doing backpacks with a lot of the guys. I always felt like the backpacks were a big part of GIJoe, and something I was disappointed in the 90s when they really started phasing them out. He's got his M16. There's a really nice sculpt of that. No strap on it. The original one had a strap on his, but that's okay. His Law has a little shark face on it, and that does have a strap on it, which I think it's more important for the Law to have the strap because the M16 is sort of his primary weapon. You know he's going to be using that a lot. He does come with a missile for the missile launcher, so that can be dropped inside it there. In some ways, I kind of would like it if you could attach the missile launcher to his backpack, just so it wasn't bouncing around, jostling around on his shoulder. And he also has a knife. Did I see a spot for that? He has a sheath on his chest harness here, his load-bearing equipment, and the knife slides in right there. Great looking figure. Again, I think a different helmet would make him perfect for me, but he's pretty good, and definitely happy to add him to my Classified Joe team. Next up is our lone MOTU figure for this episode. This is the Sketchbook Cyclone, original concept art. So this is Cyclone, the blue and yellow guy. You spin the dial and his torso spins around. But the way he came out in some early sketch art inspired by concept art. Fan favorite. Characters before they evolved into the final form of Eternia's greatest hero. So the rejected concepts getting figures, which is kind of fun. I haven't been all in on all of these guys, but I happen to be available when he went up for sale, and so I didn't skip them. Sometimes these guys, you know, are like, oh, I could live without them, so if it's not convenient to order, I don't. I didn't get the Hordak set. I actually split it with my friend Tony from RetroCon. He picked up that pack and only wanted Hordak, so he sold me Grizzlor. If I end up seeing that set on clearance at some point, maybe I'll grab it to get a Hordak for myself. But again, these preliminary concept figures don't feel like must-haves for me. I do feel like he might be reusing Manny Face's waist, but this line is interesting because it doesn't really get to take advantage of a lot of tooling reuse, really. There's a lot of new tooling to get all the detail on this figure. I like the chest having a lot of technical detail to it. It would be interesting to see them do a Strobo figure, who was sort of like a planned reuse of Cyclone, but use this torso to give Strobo a little bit more of his own identity. He does have a lenticular sticker on his chest. It just sort of changes color. It doesn't have the radar effect to it. I'll try and get some good close-up of it. He does come with a pretty funky-looking blaster weapon. It reminds me a lot of the Talon Fighter. And he also comes with a head that's a lot more similar to the final Cyclone head. The color looks really odd because it's a yellow helmet and he's got orange kind of on his whole body. But I do think it's kind of neat that they gave you two looks for him there. And, you know, any kind of toy that goes through a design process has lots and lots of versions. They do color studies and they do lots of different designs because your first idea is often not your best idea. You know, 6 thumbnails before, you know, you pick a solution to a problem, that kind of thing. So I do think he's kind of... I knew that was going to happen. We lost Footloose. But I do think this is kind of fun. If I can get Cyclone to stand, or Concept Cyclone to stand. I feel like he needs his own name. Did he have a special name? Just Sketchbook Cyclone, original concept art Cyclone. It would be neat kind of if he had his own name so he was sort of a standalone character in a way. Next up, we've got another DC McFarlane figure. This Batman's labeled Batman Trochia. if I'm pronouncing that right. But the artwork on the back shows a Kelly Jones cover Batman figure with that Kelly Jones artwork style with the giant ears. The father of my best friend growing up was one of the writers on Batman comics and was a co-creator of Bane and helped write the whole Batman Nightfall series. And Kelly Jones and John Beatty did the covers during that and then transitioned into the lead artist and inker for the series after Nightfall. And so this is based on Kelly Jones's art style here with the extra long ears and the really big flowing cape. And it also reflects the influence of the Burton movies. They did eventually, after Nightfall, get away from the blue and gray uniform and move into a black uniform for Batman. So I love that they are doing a Kelly Jones influenced Batman here. He's not as muscular as a Kelly Jones Batman often would be, but you can definitely see the influence in the head sculpt, and I do like that they gave him this giant wired cape. He comes with a Batarang accessory, which is a pretty common accessory for Batman. I don't really know if Kelly drew them this way too much. It's a very big, blunt one. He also comes with some fist hands, a figure stand, and a trading card, which is kind of what this whole series has come with. I had a few figures from early on, actually recently in a Superman Toys episode that I did with Tony from Hack the Movies. I showed off the Wave 1 McFarlane Multiverse Superman. I had the animated series Batman from that line, but I didn't keep him for very long. But I'm excited to have this one because he's got the Kelly Jones art style there. We've opened up and checked out the newest releases in my pile here. But I do have a few older things I never got around to unboxing that I wanted to dig into just for fun. I miss sometimes, opening things up and getting to give people reactions. I recently had a thought while unboxing some Lightning Collection stuff about toy collecting and the windowless boxes that Hasbro had tried out for a little while. So I posted that on Patreon, but I did save out 2 Lightning Collection toys that I've been meaning to open for a while. And like I said, I have a couple other GIJoe classified figures. Finster really does look incredible. I'm having a weird flashback to that I opened this figure before, but I don't think I bought 2 of it. I wonder if Super 7 did a Finster figure that I'm thinking of. I really do wish they had made more of these guys. The Palace grouping from Bandora's Palace or Rita's Palace on the moon. We got Goldar, we got Scorpina, we got Rita, we got Zed, we got Finster, but they didn't do Babu or Squat. It would have been cool if they could have done that whole grouping, but they only had so much they could do, I guess, throughout the run of that line. They did not do a ton of monsters, but the monsters are some of my all-time favorite figures from that line. So it looks like he can hold a bunch of his accessories on his apron, which is really fun. I'm sort of trying to figure out what the best way is to put them in here. Okay, the rolling pin goes on this side with the slightly bigger loops. He's got like a sculpting knife or something here. That goes on this side, I assume. He has a little tiny sculpting tool that he can hold. And then he has his mold that has 1 putty permanently in there. And he's got 2 other putties here. So he would often put blobs of clay into this mold and close it and then open it back up. So that's pretty fun that you've got that. And he's got an eye loop piece here, which I don't know if that hangs off his shoulder or it goes around his neck, but you'd have to take his head off to put that around his neck. But it's actually like a convex piece of plastic, so it does actually looks like it magnifies a little bit. And he's got some alternative hands. I love that he has the articulated mouth there, and I gotta get this guy over on my shelf there. Anybody collecting the Power Rangers Reignition line, I haven't seen them at retail yet. I do plan to get all the monsters they release, because they go really well with the vintage Bandai figures. I don't know if I'm going to get the head flippers, because I have them all. And then I bought those modern reissues at one point from GameStop, which I did sell those after I did the review for them, years after I did the review for them, but I decided when I moved here, I didn't really have the space for like multiple sets of head flippers. So I think I'm going to stay strong on that, although I might pick up the Tommy one just because I like the fact that he can flip his head without taking the armor off. I think that's kind of something unique there with that figure. The other Lightning Collection figure I have is the Red Ranger from Dino Charge, Tyler. The actor that plays him, Brendan Mejia, has a YouTube channel. He talks a lot about behind-the-scenes stuff with Power Rangers. He's a really passionate guy about Power Rangers, so I enjoy his content because he's just so, like, proud of being a Red Ranger. And so, for whatever reason, when I was kind of sifting through these figures, I decided to save him to unbox in a video that was meant to be a video versus, like, the pile I unboxed that inspired a quick Patreon exclusive video. Dino Charge is sort of an important season of Power Rangers to me. It's not from my youth. It's not the season that got me back into Power Rangers, where I really started watching consistently again. But it was one of the it was, I guess, the first season that we really reviewed all the toys on SEO Toy Review, the original version of this channel. I made so much Power Ranger content based around that, that, you know, I watched it every week as it came out to get ideas for content, to know the lingo. You know, when we first got the figures and we had to review them, I didn't know what they were going to say. Same thing later than with Ninja Steel. You know, we didn't know it was going to be Ninja Spin when we first started reviewing the figures. But it was an enjoyable season. There were so many characters. Some of the actors were really likable, and I loved the fact that vintage toy line for it, well, I mean, not really vintage, but the toy line that came out while it was released came with so many monsters. It really was awesome. So, Tyler has the unhelmeted head, the Brendan or Tyler head there. He's got his sword, which was one of their signature weapons from the season. He's got the Morpher, which was a blaster. They had these, like, Nerf gun Morphers, which was a weird Morpher. I mean, sometimes it's a belt buckle, sometimes it's a pair of sunglasses, sometimes it's a cell phone. It's been lots of different things over the years, right? But when it's like a gun that you pull out in public to morph, or in, you know, reality are carrying it around, it's a little odd. He's got a couple other sets of hands, and of course he's got a lightning effect, because it is the Lightning Collection. I guess our bad guy Finster is one of the few Lightning Collection guys that didn't come with a blast effect. Next up, I'm opening Spirit from the GIJoe Classified line. I love the characters with pets. I had a second-hand Spirit and Freedom as a kid, so he was one of the early GIJoe characters that I really liked and played with a lot. I was super excited when they released this one, and then I never opened him. Like many of the classified figures, a lot of these figures came out when I was moving, or get shipped to me at a speed I can't rapidly open on the show, and I'm really bad about just opening my toys for enjoyment, because this is the number one way I interact with my collection, is making videos. I'm sure some of you guys have had this figure on display for years now. I'm finally getting him opened up. I do like his web gear over the blue shirt. I like that the shirt's a little bit darker. The tampo work on his arms are great. He does have like a falconer glove, which is sort of like his classified upgrade. Something that they often do with these figures, you know, to add some sort of detail that wasn't on the vintage one. But I think that's a great idea, considering that he has a pet bird. It has little holes there, and there's pegs on Freedom's feet so he can land on his arm. The pegs and the holes aren't my favorite idea. Like, they're a little bit unsightly, but it is nice to have, like, a good way to attach Freedom to Spirit. As I struggle to find my words, because I'm struggling to perch this bird. There we go. I do like that the bird is articulated, so the head can move to a more flying position or outward position. He has ball-jointed wings that are folded up, but you can also pop them out and plug in big wings, unfolded wings, so he can fly. So if you want him in more of the standard Freedom pose from the vintage figure, you can do that. Spirit doesn't seem to have the fringe on his pants. That's another thing they dropped. He's got a pistol here and a holster to store that in. He's got 2 knives. One has a painted blade. I'm going to assume that's the one that goes in the more ceremonial sheath on his chest, the one that does have some fringe. The other knife with the unpainted blade will stick in his other holster on the side of his leg. He's got his backpack here. The backpack has a peg on the one side, and it also has like a little piece of wood, which also has the holes. So if you want to display Freedom with his wings out, you could perch him on the backpack with the wings spread out behind. Spirit probably worked pretty well. I wonder if his spear gun here, it looks less like a spear gun than the vintage one, and the things on his backpack don't show any spears in them. It's more of just a rifle. I'm not sure if that will fit. Will the trigger guard fit over this peg so he can carry that on his back? Yep, looks like that's what they're going for there. A lot of early classified stuff had like pegs and holes in the guns and things like that so they could carry their equipment. I don't mind that they phased some of that stuff out. Some of it was a little bit weird in the beginning, but they were finding their footing. I like this Spirit a lot. Like I said, he was always a favorite character of mine. Because he had the pet bird and he was cool. He was a Native American. He went up against Storm Shadow in the cartoon. Like, what else could you want? The last figure I have to open here is one of those closed box figures from, the environmental days of Hasbro. This is Lowite. Again, another one of these figures that I can't believe I never got around to opening. I know he's a great looking figure. I really want to get my class of 86 classified figures together and display them down here in the basement. So it's one of the reasons I want to open him, so I have him ready to go when a bunch of the new guys come in, right? The pre-orders for Sci-Fi and Wetsuit and Mainframe, I'm thinking about putting a collection together to display that way. I'm having instant flashbacks to the Pursuit of Cobra Lowite. This was the 4-inch modern sculpt one that came with an ammo case with an individual bullet that I lost instantly in the carpet in the living room in my old house. Never recovered it. Searched that carpet for the longest time on my hands and knees trying to find it. And never had any luck. So hopefully I don't lose any of this guy's parts. He looks pretty good. It's funny to me seeing him without his visor on. I know version 2 and version 3 and version 4 had a different head and a different look to him. But with the beanie on, without the goggles, he just always seems so funny to me because that version 1 look is so iconic. This little Footlocker has the baggie of accessories. I hate those little baggies. I had one accessory stuck in the corner. I thought it was empty. I had one fall on the floor. Drives me crazy. But the first accessory we're going to put on here is his goggles. They are set up so you could put them on top of his head. Or you can drop them over his eyes. They are painted goggles. Like the red is painted on them, so it is not like a transparent thing, which sometimes we get with these 6-inch scale and is kind of cool. Where you can see the character's eyes through it. I don't mind that I can't see his eyes through it, but I think it would be neat to see what that would be like. And if I would find that to be even cooler. Alright, so there's Lowite with his goggles on. He's got a backpack that seems to just be a big slug. He had a huge backpack in the vintage toy line. And then he also comes with a rifle case. The rifle case has a hole in it and a peg on it, so it seems like I can peg that into his backpack. Oh. Well, I don't know. The peg on the back of the rifle case could be pegged to his back. He could wear it as a backpack. But the hole in the case seems too loose to peg on the backpack. So that seems like poor planning. The rifle case comes with his sniper rifle here disassembled and in little padded sections. That kind of stuff is really neat for toy photographers and stuff. Like Bullhorn in the vintage toy line had the case with the gun. But I always find that way too fiddly for any play value. So in some ways, it's cool that he has this gun, but I also would love it if he just came with a gun an edition that was molded with all those parts on it non-removable so you don't lose them. That's a personal pet peeve of mine. He's got a small machine gun here with a removable clip, it looks like. This is kind of in place of the Uzi that he came with originally. It does look like he's got a holster on the side of his leg, but I have no idea how this would slide in there. Kind of like the vintage figure where he's got a little clip on the side that people claim can hold the Uzi, but it doesn't really fit in there well. I don't know what the story is with this. He does also have like a cell phone. Maybe that's what it is. Oh, that holster's for the cell phone, not for his sidearm. It's a cell phone or maybe some sort of sniper distance measuring thing. He's got a knife here. Put this gun in his hand. We've got one of these D-loop handles they like to do in this line, which also is really hard to get in figures' hands. Yeah, his backpack can go on, but the rifle case doesn't really stick to that well. You know, it'd be neat if you could carry them both, but it doesn't. They're not the right size peg. I wonder if anybody else came with this backpack, because what else could that peg have been for? So I would probably just put the rifle case on his back, because, quite frankly, that's the more important weapon, right? He's the night spotter. He needs his rifle more than he needs his backpack full of supplies. Cool figure. Somebody who I might buy again if they do a retro card version. This one's definitely serviceable, but like I said, I would like one that's a little bit more playable. Maybe that has like the gun all in one piece. The uniform's pretty much correct. It's got his little ribbed padded sections and everything. So this figure would be pretty easy, I think, to release as a retro card. I don't know if they would do something different with the goggles or just do something different with the head or leave him completely this way. Maybe just switch out his handgun for something different. Maybe actually give him an Uzi. Maybe switch out the rifle for one that stands up. Ooh, Cyclone's falling down. But overall, this is a fun batch of toys. Glad I got them out of the package. Glad I got to start enjoying them. Because them being in piles of boxed, unopened toys just is not very appealing. So I try to make it a habit of doing these videos once in a while. My modern toy unboxing videos gets me a chance to enjoy them. It gets me a chance to kind of give you guys my quick take on some of these toys and also hear back from you guys. So I love it if you guys leave me comments about which toys you like, which ones you picked up. Are you surprised about anything? Would you suggest they change anything about it? What toys am I missing out on that I should know about? There is a Knight's End Batman, the Azrael Batsuit, that I do want to track down. Like I said, I'm big into the Doug Mensch run, the Nightfall stuff, the Kelly Jones artwork. Yeah, I'm still looking to keep my eyes out for Superpowers, guys. There's always more pre-orders from Classifieds. Lightning Collection's dead unless they bring it back, and I would love it if they brought it back. I know they would have to reissue some stuff, I'm sure. They would probably want to reissue some of the Mighty Morphin stuff just because it sells really well. But if at some point when we get to a Power Ranger movie year, Hasbro wants to fire up the Legacy Collection again, Lightning Collection again, put out the newest Rangers based on the newest property, whatever that is, whether it's the cartoon or a movie or whatever they do. But I would love for them to keep churning out some of the stuff, finish some of the teams they didn't finish, give us some more of the monsters. It would be fantastic. Guys, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys watching the videos. Hit the like button so YouTube knows this is quality content. Almost said Hasbro knows it's quality content. Hit subscribe if you haven't done so. Share this video with a toy collecting friend. If you want to support the channel further, consider joining us on Patreon. But most of all, thanks for hanging on the peg with me.